Check out FlipsideGaming.com for all your gaming needs. Use the promo code HEROES to save 10% on all orders over $10 and support the channel at the same time. Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to this special edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. This is our April Picks of the Month video. Now, if you've watched this series before, we typically talk about single Magic cards that are a little undervalued, underappreciated, maybe under the radar at the time, and you might be able to pick them up before they go up in price. Today, upon request, I'm going to talk a little bit about sealed product. This is a topic a lot of folks have been asking about. So today, I'm going to talk about some reasonably priced booster boxes that will most likely be going up in value over the next number of years. Now, just a reminder, the Picks of the Month series will go out first to gold patrons, and then it will be posted on YouTube a couple days later. So just keep that in mind that some of these prices may have shifted slightly, but I'm not anticipating any major changes over the next few hours. With that being said, let's talk about some sealed product. In this video, I'm going to focus on booster boxes, and these are all actually recent booster boxes. I didn't go into anything crazy like Urza Saga or something like that. Those are very, very expensive to pick up, obviously, as is so much of the sealed product over the years. However, a lot of the more recent stuff is still very affordable and will increase in value over time in the coming years. In fact, all of the boxes we're going to look at today, there's one around $140, but all the others are under $100, so they are all very reasonable. One question I get a lot about sealed product is, why does it cost what it costs? Because many times it will outweigh anything I'm going to open in the box financially. Well, the reason for that is simple. It's because the actual sealed product is the rarity. That's the collectible. It's not necessarily what's in it. Now, what's in it can drive prices, obviously, because those cards, the big chase cards, they're not in it until you open the packs, right? So there's always this chance that you have a box that contains this amazing card that's never been touched by human hands. And that's part of the appeal. But more so, I think, is that collectors like to have the nostalgic feel of these original booster boxes in their collection. A time when they maybe first started playing Magic, or a set that meant something to them. And I think that's what you're seeing here. Some people do collect them for value, try to resell them, although, as always with everything in Magic, I don't really recommend that because the market is very volatile and unstable, and I can't, in a good conscience, say you should go and try to buy a bunch of these and flip them or anything like that, because I just don't feel like everything is always going to work out that way in the world of MTG. So, for me, these videos, as always, are more about buying things that you enjoy. If you enjoy collecting sealed product, we're going to give you some tips about some boxes that could be good pickups. Or maybe you like to draft with old product or do chaos drafts. A lot of people enjoy that. It can get expensive, but at least the boxes we're going to look at today are, for the most part, affordable, and maybe you can go in with some friends. All right, we're going to begin with Oath of the Gatewatch, and we'll move from lowest price to highest price as we go through the list, beginning with this one at $79. This is a great deal for any Magic set, as a matter of fact, and getting a booster box of something not even in standard for under $80 feels pretty good. So this is a great pickup if you can find these at this price, right? Now, there are masterpieces contained in Oath of the Gatewatch, and that's no mistake that that's one of the reasons it's on the list. As a matter of fact, you're going to see a number of boxes on this list that contain masterpieces. And if you've been following the market, maybe watching the Saturday Market Watch videos, you know there's been some market manipulation recently around the price points of masterpieces. And it's kind of unfortunate. It's creating some false inflation, but at the same time, it's also creating new interest in these cards. Some of the cards that maybe a lot of people weren't even paying attention to, like the Invocations, because they didn't like the design or whatever, are starting to actually garner true attention. They're not selling for the crazy inflated prices you might be seeing out there, but they are selling a little more and a little higher than they have been. And I think that is a trend that over time will continue, considering these are not necessarily the rarest Magic cards in existence, but they're not printed nowhere near in the high quantities that your average Magic is. So there's definitely a market out there for these high-end unique cards. And over time, as they get harder and harder to find in good condition, they are good collectibles to have. Now, the fact that there's a chance that there's a masterpiece in this box is kind of exciting, right? And is a little bit appealing for some people that might want to collect sealed product, just to have something like that in their collection. Again, you don't know the card's not in there until you open and see it's not in there. So that's part of the fun of these. Now, the con being these sets that did have masterpieces were open in higher quantities for the most part, which results in the actual cards in the base set maybe not being worth quite as much, even if they do see a lot of play, and that's the case in Oath of the Gatewatch especially. For example, I mean, you can find Thought-Knot Seer in this set, Reality Smasher, Matter Reshaper. These are all cards seeing extensive play all over the place. However, they're not super expensive, at least not yet, but if time goes on and they don't get a reprint, expect a set like this to all of a sudden start gathering more and more attention as the years go on. So yeah, $79, this is a great pickup. Hour of Devastation, $81.22. Now this is a standard legal set. It's not all that old, and it did have masterpieces, but this was the tail end of the masterpieces, and a lot of people were not crazy about the design of invocations in general. So even though this is a set that was probably cracked a little more than many, I don't think it was cracked quite as much as, say, the Battle for Zendikar or the Gatewatch and those. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's also a small set, which helps. Now, on the downside, though, the set doesn't have a lot of long-term value cards, at least not yet. Of course, metas shift and such. But right now, the Scarab God is the big appeal here, and I don't have a lot of confidence in that card when it moves out of Standard, although it will always be a decent commander card, as well as some of the other gods. And you also have, like, Nicol Bolas, God Pharaoh in here. So there's a few hits for casual playing commander, but I do think that will slow down the growth of this. However, long-term with invocations, I think it's still a good pickup at this price. Amonkhet. Okay, now this is another standard set. Again, this did contain invocations as well. $85, though, I think is a fantastic price for this particular set, considering how stacked some of the cards are in here. And there's a number of cards, even though they are seeing a fair amount of standard play right now, and that won't last forever, but they have already begun to cross over into other formats. I'm thinking of cards like Hezret the Fervent, Gideon of the Trials, Ronas the Indomitable, As Foretold, maybe even Combat Celebrant going forward. There's just a lot of value packed in this particular set that has me interested with the combination of the masterpieces, of course. Aether Revolt at $87.90. Another set, of course, that contains masterpieces, but beyond that, this small set has a lot of big cards. Paradox Engine maybe being the biggest, huge commander card right now. Walking Ballista, another huge card. Fatal Push at Uncommon, the elusive Fatal Push. And, of course, Metallic Mimic even, and I think long-term, even if that just becomes a casual card, has a lot of potential. So there's a lot of strong value here in this small set. Rivals of Ixalan, $88.97. I went with a really recent set here. As a matter of fact, until Dominaria comes out in a few days, this is going to be the most recent standard set. And these are going for a decent price right now as distributors and LGSs are starting to think about maybe making room for Dominaria and other upcoming products. However, I might wait a little bit on this. I do think the value of this goes down a little bit more once Dominaria hits and people just kind of feel like they're getting stuck with these things. So give it a little time, but here's the appeal. No masterpieces. I actually do like that in this case. It's a small set, and it did get overshadowed by a lot of drama over the course of the winter. We had Iconic Masters, we had Masters 25, Unstable, which was wildly popular. There was, of course, Dominaria coming, which a lot of people were excited about the previews and the nostalgic aspect of that set. This set just kind of got overshadowed, and I do think long-term does have some potential. Now, the cards within, probably not as strong as, say, Eldridge Moon or anything like that. Rekindling Phoenix is really cool, but we don't really know what kind of viability that's going to have after Standard. Although, there's a couple interesting ones in here, like Angroth and Kumina especially. Kumina is a card that I feel like is going to be a big commander card for years to come. Also, one of those cards that will never get reprinted for years until it shows up in some master set randomly. So that is one I would just keep an eye on. But there's also a few other interesting ones, like the Immortal Sun, for example, and Direfleet Daredevils in the set too. So there's some good reasons to pick this one up eventually. Eldridge Moon. Now, this might be my gem of the whole video. If you only buy one booster box that you see here today, this might be the one you want to pick up. So why Eldridge Moon? There's no masterpieces in this. Well, that's one of the reasons. Because there were no masterpieces in this particular set, it didn't get cracked quite as much as many of the other recent sets. Aside from that, it was a small set, so you know it's not going to get cracked as much as a large set generally due to limited play. And then finally, and the biggest thing, this was part of a train of sets that came out that summer. It was sandwiched between Eternal Masters, which had a ton of hype, and Conspiracy Take the Crown, which also was a very exciting and very popular set. So a lot of people just simply overlooked Eldridge Moon, and you can see that reflected in the values of some of the singles already. Not to mention the fact that some of the cards in here are really, really good for modern, even legacy purposes. So you're going to find Liliana the Last Hope in here. Of course, that's kind of the crown jewel of the set right now. Collective Brutality, one of my favorites. Emrakul, The Promised Ends in here. Grim Flayer, Spell Queller. A lot of really, really solid cards in a set that was underopened. Fate Reforged, $89.99. I was torn whether to throw this one on here or Dragons of Tarkir. I mean, they both have some solid cards. I ultimately went with this one, though, because it was the smaller set, and I think was opened a little bit less, most likely. And it does have Ugin the Spirit Dragon in it. And yes, at some point, Ugin will be reprinted, which might hurt value overall for this set. But at the same time, I do think those original Ugins will always have some appeal, and they do see play, obviously, in a number of places. Monastery Mentor, also in the set, definitely worth mentioning. Kaladesh. Okay, so this is another Masterpiece set. $94.95. Not cheap for the old Kaladesh. It's getting up there now. However, I do think this is still a good pickup because of the Masterpieces being included, of course. And even though a lot of packs of this were opened at the time, it does have cards like Chandra Torch of Defiance, which we have seen in Modern as well as Legacy so far. It's also got a very good land cycle. The Spire Bluff Canal Botanical Sanctum, that land cycle, is actually pretty decent. So there's a few cards in here that definitely make me take notice in addition to the Masterpieces. Alright, for $99.99, Battle for Zendikar, where all of the Masterpiece craziness began, and we're going to find some of the most valuable Masterpieces, as a matter of fact. The downside, though, is a ton of this was open. This was open in huge quantities, especially with all the excitement around that original batch of expeditions. So the core cards did take a hit because of that. However, again, you can tell there's already interest in this, considering it's going for around $100, and it is a set, again, that is outside of Standard now. And beyond that, this does contain Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, Gideon Alive Zendikar, Drana Liberator Malakir. There's at least a few pretty big hits in here, especially that Ulamog. Sure, it will get reprinted at some point, but again, it's another really big card. Alright, our last box, Iconic Masters, believe it or not, at $139.75. So really, Iconic Masters, why is that? Well, I was debating over a few different Master sets to talk about here. One of which could have been Masters 25, although I do think that's going to go down a little more. Prices are pretty low on that, but again, look what happened to Iconic Masters. They continued to go down as people felt like they were stuck with these products. It's going to be even worse, I think, with Masters 25. Another option might be Modern Masters 2017. The problem with those, though, is that's an awesome set, but a lot of people have noticed it's an awesome set, and it's gone up a lot recently, usually around $300 or more for a box now. So I still wanted to find something that was a little bit cheaper, and I think this was a good choice at $139, $140. There's tons of value to be had in here, especially in the long term. So your key cards, Mana Drain, which is great for Vintage, of course, but a lot of Commander players picking that up. You got Horizon Canopy at Rare. Right now, that's worth $55 just on its own. Even this version of it, which is insane, but the card sees extensive play, of course. Ether Vials in here, that'll run you over $30. Cryptic Command, another $30 card at Rare. Grove of the Burn Willows, Ancestral Vision, Thoughtseize with the original art, Flusterstorm, the list goes on and on. A lot of great Commander cards in here too. This is highly, highly undervalued. You could probably crack a box of this for $140 and actually be able to get your money back, believe it or not, which is very unusual. Now, ultimately, I do think people will catch on and this will start going up in value over time, but if you can find these at a good price, I'd pick one up definitely for your collection. And maybe in the future, who knows, you might want to draft or play sealed with it, or maybe go in with some friends and play draft. So really good set to do that with too. Alright, with that being said, that is our look at some sealed booster boxes. Let me know if you like this type of thing, if you'd like to see more of it in the future. Next month, I'll probably go back to a few cards, undervalued cards. At some point, once we get closer to the end of Standard, we'll talk about rotation and what cards might be good pickups as they're leaving the Standard format. Things of that nature. But as always, let me know if you have some topics you'd like me to talk about when it comes to the Pick of the Month videos. But until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.